Good morning and happy Monday. Always nice to begin the work week with you here on 3+U. For anyone watching this morning who either themselves or perhaps someone they know suffers with tinnitus, you know how very frustrating it can be. But the truth is there are some things that you can do not only to educate yourself, but to kind of alleviate some of those symptoms. So we're very happy this morning to have Dr. Tiffany Ahlberg on the show. She, of course, is with Ahlberg Audiology. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I think it might be one of the more maddening things to consider having because it doesn't go away, right?
Well, it doesn't. So tinnitus is not fixable, but it's treatable, and so that is key for a lot of people, just to know that there is treatments available. You think about, I try to think sometimes about how to explain tinnitus or things that you can do for tinnitus to my patients, and I think about like an itch. The other day I put on this sweater and it was so itchy, and then immediately my kid runs to me and is like, "Mom, I need this." And I completely forgot about the itchy sweater for a minute.
Because you were redirected.
Yes, and it takes that a lot of times with tinnitus, and there's so many different things that you can do. I mean, basically tinnitus most of the time is the absence of sound. So we have a sound void where our brain used to perceive information, and now we have a void there, and the brain is trying so hard to find that sound and to find that connection of sound. And so it almost turns up that frequency in the brain, and it makes up a sound.
So sometimes, I mean, I've had this experience. I think it's somewhat common when you're in a very quiet room, you can almost hear a hum.
Yeah. That's
what it is.
That's tinnitus. And it's just varying degrees for different people. And sometimes when people focus on it a lot, there's a whole cycle around tinnitus, sort of like if you have a really itchy sweater on.
Sure.
You know, if you think about it, it's worse.
Right.
And you think about it and it's like, oh, I can't stand it. I've got to rip this thing off. And so the same thing happens with tinnitus. You think about it, it gets worse. You think about it, it gets worse. And so there's this cycle around it. But if you break the cycle, and so there's something new too. There's an app that we have been working with. It's called Mahana. And it is a cognitive behavioral therapy, so it's CBT, and it is basically like a counseling session, multiple counseling sessions within this app that just help people to redirect, like you're talking about, so that they're able to focus on good things, calm things, whatever that is, and it gives people ideas and help and just the ability to help themselves to not think about it.
That makes a lot of sense to me why you would use that approach in a way, because haven't you told me that it often is worse at night?
It is, because of the absence of sound.
Right. So then if you're not sleeping well, then that creates mood swings.
Yes.
You know, and plus just the frustration, especially at first diagnosis, and at the first awareness of symptoms anyway, of not being able to get rid of it, that would just drive you crazy.
Yeah, it does. And so, I mean, we recommend different apps for people sleeping. So there are sound therapies available too. So the cognitive behavioral therapy is like 10-minute sessions that people do every day.
Does it change with time? If somebody has tinnitus now, will it look the same in 5 years?
Usually.
Okay.
It gets better because...
Oh, it gets better.
Because most of the time, that initial awareness of, oh my goodness, and then the thought of that it's never going to go away, which is not true. I have people who have it and they can't find it unless they really, really, really think about it later, when they know that it's not a big deal, when they know that it's not a brain tumor, or they're not having some kind of, issue.
Right.
Just that if when you have something and you don't know what it is, then there's a stress that happens around that.
It is funny how you can interpret something. So for me, I would have classified tinnitus as, quote, ringing in your ear. But really it is the absence of sound, and somehow that's a different take to me, because I'm thinking I can replace a sound then.
Yeah, and that's basically why You know, the hearing aids do help a lot of people with
really?
tinnitus because it's bringing the sound back up. And so I tell people it's like having a candle in a room, and then you have the light, main light source, and you don't pay any attention to this candle sitting off in the corner until you turn the lights off, and then all of a sudden your eyes are drawn to this candle, and that's what happens with the tinnitus. So when your hearing is normal, then you're hearing all of the environmental sounds, but when you do have a void in a certain frequency, then all of a sudden this internal sound is amplified. And so when you fill that hearing void back up with environmental sounds, then that internal sound goes away.
Are you seeing, because what causes the tinnitus? Is it hearing damage?
Most of the time, it is really the absence of sound. There is an absence of your brain getting information from these frequencies, and your brain is filling that frequency with an internal sound.
And we don't know what causes that absence to occur?
Yeah, a hearing loss. And so you have a hearing loss, and so now your brain is used to getting, let's say it's 3,000 hertz, your brain is used to getting these sounds, and so it's turning up a sound, an internal sound that it's making up, and it's making that louder to give your brain that information.
Okay, so some hearing loss is kind of just congenital, right? Or just through time it happens. Other hearing loss, tell me if I'm wrong, is the result of damage to your hearing, like concerts, cutting the grass, whatever. Is one of those things more likely to create the tinnitus?
Well, and so you do. When I say tinnitus is the absence of sound, but it's also our human reaction to that. So some people are, they can say, oh yeah, there's like this noise in my ear, but I don't pay any attention to it. And then other people are like, wow, there's this noise in my ear and it drives me crazy, and I can't stand it, and it causes this emotional response that makes everything worse. And so it's dealing with that emotional reaction that can make that better. I mean, there's other things you can do to treat it too, but that's a huge part of it. That makes sense.
Are you seeing it diagnosed in younger and younger people?
I mean, we see young people with it, but it's usually when they have hearing loss. So we're seeing hearing loss in younger and younger people.
Okay, so if you have it, just get this app, Mahana. That's what you recommend?
I mean, I would say that is for people that need that particular therapy. Not everybody needs that. It is something that we have available. You have to get it through like an audiologist.
Get through you.
So it is something available. I don't recommend that for everybody, but for a certain segment of people with tinnitus, I think that it's very helpful. And
then find something at night, whether it's a fan or something, just to kind of help bring in some sound.
I mean, there are so many free apps. There's an app that is called Widex, W-I-D-E-X, Zen, Z-E-N, and they have some really good tinnitus therapy that is completely free. And there's another one called Resound, R-E-S-O-U-N-D, and they have a tinnitus app as well that is completely free that are very, very good for filling those voids at night.
There's also just her office, Ahlberg Audiology on North Ocoee Street in Cleveland. Her phone number is 641-0956. Online, it's ahlbergaudiology.com. See you here on a Monday. That's our dad joke of the week. So forget about that itchy sweater. You can tell. It can be the mom joke for you, Tiffany.